When God is getting ready to move in your life, He doesn't whisper. He shakes the atmosphere around you. And right now, I believe with all my heart that you are standing on the edge of a divine turning point. What once looked impossible, what once felt out of reach, what others said you would never accomplish, God is about to pull it into your reality with His supernatural power. When God uses impossible situations as stages for His greatest miracles, He is not reacting to life. He is orchestrating it. The impossible is not a barrier to Him. It is the very canvas on which He paints His power. Many people fear impossible situations because they feel outmatched, outnumbered, or overwhelmed. But God looks at the same situation and sees a perfect opportunity to reveal who He is. In Scripture and throughout history, every time God performed a miracle, He did it in a moment when human strength had completely run out. He waited until the Red Sea was in front of His people and Pharaoh's army was behind them. He waited until the widow had only a handful of flour left. He waited until Sarah was far past the age of childbearing. Not because He enjoys watching His people struggle, but because He wants the outcome to point unmistakably to His glory and not to human effort. When God steps into the impossible, the situation doesn't change slowly, it shifts suddenly. Human progress is gradual, but divine intervention is instant. You may be facing something right now that seems unreachable. A dream you've carried for years, a breakthrough that keeps slipping away, a problem that seems too heavy for any solution. But God is not intimidated by the size of your mountain or the depth of your valley. What looks like a dead end to you is simply a moment in God's process. He specializes in showing up when every other option has failed, because that is when your heart is most ready to recognize His hand. The impossible forces you to stop depending on your own strength. It brings you to a place where you can no longer pretend you are in control. And God does some of His deepest work in those moments. When the situation is beyond your abilities, you learn to lean into His abilities. When your wisdom isn't enough, you open yourself to His wisdom. When your resources run out, you discover His unlimited supply. God allows you to come face to face with the impossible, not to crush you, but to reshape your faith. He wants you to move from believing in what you can do to believing in what He can do. Often the impossible is not sent to stop you, it is sent to position you. It draws you closer to God, refines your attitude, strengthens your spirit, and prepares you for the blessing that is coming. The miracle is not just about changing your circumstances, it is also about changing you. God is teaching you perseverance, patience, trust, and obedience in the waiting. He is building the character needed to sustain the blessing once it arrives. Many people want a miracle but don't realize that God uses impossible situations to mold them into the kind of person who can carry His greatness without collapsing under the weight. And when God does move, He moves in ways no one can deny. He orchestrates breakthroughs that leave people speechless. He opens doors that no man can shut. He lifts you from places others thought you would never escape. He brings answers that silence critics and confuse the enemy. He creates outcomes that make people say, there is no explanation except God. You become the living evidence of His ability to transform the unchangeable, resurrect the unreachable, and turn the impossible into reality. The impossible situation you are facing is not the end of your story. It is the stage being set for God to demonstrate His power in ways you have never seen before. Your current limitations cannot stop a supernatural move that God has already declared. When God speaks a word over your life, it doesn't matter how restricted, unqualified, or under-resourced you feel. His word does not depend on your capability. It depends on His sovereignty. Many people look at what they don't have and assume it disqualifies them from walking into what God has promised. But throughout Scripture, God repeatedly uses those who seem limited so that His power becomes undeniable. Your weakness is not a blockage to God's plan. It is a doorway for His strength to be revealed. When He decides to move, no limitation in your life can rise high enough to stop Him. People often think their past mistakes, their financial situation, or their lack of connections are reasons God cannot use them or bless them. They believe their environment sets the boundaries for what is possible. But God has a way of bypassing every boundary, breaking every restriction, and lifting you beyond every limitation when He has written something into your destiny. He is not limited by your education, your upbringing, your age, or your status. When He calls you, every limitation becomes irrelevant. God does not choose you because you are perfect. He chooses you because His power is perfected in your imperfection. What you cannot do becomes the very space where He reveals what only He can do. Sometimes God allows you to see your limitations, not to discourage you, but to shift your dependence. If you had the resources, you would trust your resources. If you had the strength, you would trust your strength. Limitations push you into the place where you lean on God instead of leaning on your own understanding. They humble you, shape you, and prepare you to receive blessings with gratitude instead of pride. They remind you that the supernatural is not something you can manufacture, earn, or force. It is something God releases when the time is right and when your heart is ready to carry it. Your limitation may look like a closed door, but to God, it is simply a starting point. He can turn one opportunity into 100. He can send the right person to open the right door at the right moment. He can elevate you from a place of obscurity to a position of influence in a single day. He can transform what others see as a disadvantage into the very thing that sets you apart. God specializes in using the overlooked, the underestimated, and the underqualified to accomplish His greatest works. He takes what you consider not enough and multiplies it until it overflows. But even more powerful than that is this truth. When God has declared something over your life, it is already settled in the spiritual realm. The enemy cannot block it, people cannot undo it, and circumstances cannot delay it. Your limitations may look big to you, but they are nothing compared to the God who stands behind His word. His promises are not fragile, they are unshakable. His plans do not bend under pressure, they dominate under pressure. When God says He will open a door, that door opens even if it is surrounded by walls. When He says He will lift you, He lifts you even if you feel stuck at the bottom. What He has spoken carries the authority of heaven, and nothing on earth has the power to override it. This is why you cannot measure your future by your present limitations. You cannot measure God's capability by your capacity. He does not need your life to be perfect to perform His promise. He simply needs you to trust that what He has declared is greater than anything standing in your way. Your limitation is not a prophecy of defeat. It is a platform for God to show that His supernatural move is unstoppable, unbreakable, and undeniable. Once He has decided, it will come to pass. Divine alignment is happening behind the scenes even when you see no evidence yet. One of the greatest challenges in a season of waiting is accepting that God is working even when everything around you looks still, silent, or unchanged. We often measure progress by what we can see, touch, or understand, but God works in dimensions far beyond human sight. Just because your situation hasn't shifted visibly doesn't mean heaven isn't moving invisibly. There are moments when God hides His work to strengthen your trust, deepen your faith, and prepare you for a blessing that is larger than what you are praying for. God's alignment is intricate. It involves people, places, opportunities, timing, and spiritual preparation. He is not only positioning what you need, He is positioning you. You may think nothing is happening, but God is arranging conversations you're not aware of, stirring hearts you haven't met yet, and opening doors you haven't even seen. Sometimes the reason for the delay is not because the blessing isn't ready, it's because you are being developed into the person who can carry it. Divine alignment isn't only about external changes, it's about internal transformation. God is shaping your character, refining your motives, strengthening your patience, and building the foundation necessary to sustain what is coming. There are seasons when everything feels out of place, but those are often the seasons when God is putting everything into place. You might feel disconnected from purpose, but God is connecting you to destiny. You might feel like plans are falling apart, but God is making them fall into order. The breakdown you see is often the setup you don't see. God rearranges your life with precision, removing what cannot go with you, shifting what no longer serves your calling, and aligning you with the right opportunities. At exactly the right time, He does not rush alignment, because rushed alignment leads to unstable results. He takes His time because He is building something that will last. Divine alignment is also about timing. Even the right blessing becomes a burden if it arrives at the wrong moment. God is not just preparing the blessing for you, He is preparing the moment for its release. He aligns circumstances so that when your breakthrough comes, there is no doubt it was Him. He aligns relationships so that the right people support you, confirm you, and walk with you. He aligns resources so that you have what you need when you need it. And He aligns your spirit so that when the opportunity appears, you are ready to step into it with confidence and clarity. Many people lose hope because they equate silence with absence. But God does His greatest work in silence. Seeds grow beneath the soil long before they break the surface. Babies grow in the womb long before they enter the world. In the same way, your breakthrough is maturing in a hidden place. What God is aligning is developing depth, strength, and stability before it becomes visible. If God showed you the full process, you might rush it, interfere with it, or doubt it. So He conceals His work until the appointed time, ensuring that when it manifests, it arrives fully formed and perfectly aligned with your life's purpose. There is a reason certain people suddenly drift away. There is a reason certain doors closed. There is a reason some opportunities didn't work out. It's not rejection, it's redirection. God removes what is misaligned so that He can make room for what is aligned. What you lost was not a setback. It was part of His alignment strategy. What you didn't get was protection. What didn't happen was preparation for something better. God sees the full picture, and every shift, delay, and change is orchestrated with purpose. Even now, while you wait, God is moving parts of your life like pieces on a divine chessboard. He's aligning relationships, preparing breakthroughs, organizing encounters, and positioning you where His glory will be revealed the most. Though you cannot see it, heaven is at work with perfect precision and unstoppable intention, and everything is moving toward the exact moment when God will unveil what He has been aligning all along. When God turns the impossible into reality, He transforms you before He transforms your circumstances. Many people pray for change, but they expect the change to happen around them rather than within them. Yet God's pattern has always been to work on the person before He works on the situation. He strengthens your mindset, deepens your faith, and reshapes your identity because the miracle that is coming is too big for the old version of you to carry. God prepares you so that when the breakthrough arrives, you are not overwhelmed by it, intimidated by it, or unprepared to handle it. The blessing is not just about what you receive, it is about who you become in the process. Often, the miracle begins long before the miracle becomes visible. God allows you to walk through seasons of pressure so that your character is refined. He permits you to face difficulty so that your endurance grows. He lets you wrestle with uncertainty so that your trust becomes unshakable. When you feel stretched, it is a sign that God is enlarging you for what He is about to release. A small container cannot hold a big blessing, so God expands your faith capacity before the blessing arrives. He removes fear, insecurity, and doubt piece by piece, making room for confidence, courage, and spiritual authority. Sometimes, what looks like delay is actually development. You may be praying for a miracle, but God is preparing you to meet that miracle. He is teaching you to speak differently, think differently, and believe differently. He is renewing your mindset so that you no longer see impossibility as a dead end, but as an opportunity for His power to manifest. He is strengthening your identity so that when you step into the blessing, you walk with the sense of divine purpose rather than accidental luck. Transformation is not always comfortable, but it is essential for what God is bringing into your life. When God transforms you from the inside out, your perception changes. You begin to see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You hear God's voice more clearly. You recognize His direction more confidently. Your spirit becomes more sensitive to His leading. This inner transformation is what positions you for the supernatural shift that is ahead. Without it, you might miss the door God opens or misinterpret the miracle He sends. But with it, you are aligned, prepared, and fully awakened to the move of God unfolding in your life. Transformation also equips you to steward the blessing you are praying for. Many people ask for increase, but are not yet prepared to handle the weight that increase brings. Promotion requires discipline. Influence requires integrity. Abundance requires responsibility. God transforms you so that you can carry the next level without losing yourself, forgetting your purpose, or drifting away from Him. What He is doing in you is building the strength, wisdom, and maturity needed to sustain what He is about to release through you. As God works on you, He also removes what cannot go with you. Old habits, limiting beliefs, unhealthy attachments, and destructive patterns begin to break away. What once felt comfortable starts to feel heavy. What once felt normal starts to feel wrong. This is not coincidence, it is spiritual pruning. God is clearing out the old to make space for the new. You cannot enter a new season with a mindset from an old season. You cannot step into the supernatural carrying the weight of your past. So God lovingly, intentionally, and sometimes painfully transforms you so that nothing in your character sabotages the blessing He is preparing. And when the transformation inside you reaches maturity, the transformation around you begins to unfold. Doors open, opportunities arise, miracles manifest. What once felt impossible becomes the new reality you walk in daily. But by the time the blessing arrives, you are no longer the same person who once doubted it could happen. You are stronger, wiser, more grounded, and spiritually aligned with God's purpose. The blessing doesn't change you. Your transformation is what attracts and sustains the blessing. The shift God brings into your circumstances mirrors the shift He has already produced within your spirit, your heart, and your identity. So as you stand in this moment, between what has been and what is about to be, lift your eyes, lift your faith, lift your expectations. You are not waiting for an ordinary change. You are standing in front of a supernatural turning point designed by God Himself. Everything you've walked through, every challenge you've survived, every tear you've cried has been leading you toward this divine moment. The impossible is not your enemy. It is the doorway God will use to reveal His glory in your life. Walk forward with confidence, not because everything makes sense, but because God is already ahead of you, arranging what you cannot see. Step into your next season with courage, because heaven has already spoken over you. Believe boldly, pray boldly, expect boldly, because the God who created the universe is about to demonstrate His power in your story. This is your moment of shifting. This is your season of alignment. This is your time to witness the reality of what once seemed impossible. And when it comes, when the breakthrough arrives, when the miracle unfolds, when the impossible becomes your testimony, you will look back and say, God was preparing me all along. Get ready. Stay faithful. The God who promised is the God who performs, and He is about to turn the impossible into your reality.